Ground ball.
Hakeem trying to turn baseline.
Drexler just exploded up. And the slice of game. Olajuwon won Game 7. Coming from behind 3 games to 1.
He gets by Drexler.
The Rockets were defending champions. Hakeem was still a nightmare in the paint. Clyde Drexler was hungry for another ring. But on January 30th, 1996, they ran into a problem that no one in the NBA could solve. A fully unleashed, prime Michael Jordan. In just one night, he reminded everyone why the crown never left his head. However, this game was not exactly a display of his power. Rather, this game served to make people realize how powerful the Bulls were as a team. They were having a historic season, winning every game with abysmal superiority. But even the best players have off nights. With MJ as their leader, the Bulls had to show incredible resilience to overcome the toughest test of the entire season. Why? Well, the Houston Rockets had just come off back-to-back championships, sweeping Shaq and the Magic, and earning respect as the team that could rule the NBA for the rest of the decade. They really had it all. MJ's retirement had allowed them to impose their game and become the best team in the league. And even if Michael had come out of retirement, the Rockets believed he could never beat them again. The league was theirs, and it was MJ's turn to prove them wrong. It wasn't that Michael had to prove what he was capable of. He had proven it throughout his career. The 3 championship rings from 91, 92, and 93 were proof of that. At that point, after reigning over the league for years, everyone considered him the GOAT. But even with this status, Michael still had a lot of fighting left in him. He wanted to set the bar so high that no one could ever surpass him again. However, the Bulls were not the vulnerable team Jordan played for at the beginning of his career. They had progressed a lot and had assembled an unbeatable supporting cast. So much so that they were able to do okay in the nearly 2 seasons Michael was retired. Yes, logically, without their leader, they weren't able to come close to winning the ring. But with him back, they were having the best regular season in NBA history. Seeing the Bulls lose a game was like seeing Halley's Comet pass by. In the 1995-1996 season, the Bulls weren't just the best offense in the league. Yes, their offensive rating of 115.2 points scored per 100 possessions was simply unreal, a stat worthy of a team 30 years later in the modern game. But their defense was also the best in the NBA. With only 101.8 points allowed per 100 possessions, they were a killing machine on both ends of the floor. Watching them play was a real pleasure. It seemed like they did everything right. But in an 82-game season, some games would be harder than others. The Houston Rockets were good. Very good. With 2 Hall of Famers on their roster, there wasn't a game they didn't have a chance to win. Hakeem Olajuwon had taken the crown as the best player in the NBA during Jordan's absence and had become a difference maker on both ends of the court. At his side was Clyde Drexler, a player who, throughout his career, many players compared to Michael Jordan. Now in Houston, he had learned how to win, and he didn't want to stop now. That season, Hakeem and Clyde averaged a combined 46.2 points, 18.1 rebounds, and 9.4 assists per night. These averages allowed Houston to remain one of the best teams in the league. Although they never had incredible regular seasons in terms of records, they were always able to step up their game during the playoffs, and absolutely no one wanted to cross paths with them. That's why on January 30th, 1996, the date Michael Jordan would return to Houston for the first time since his retirement, everyone was glued to their TVs, ready to watch the duel between 2 teams. One representing the past and one representing the present. The question was, which one would represent the future? That night, Michael Jordan wasn't just trying to answer that question. He was also trying to snap one of the most infamous losing streaks of his career. Because he hadn't won at the Summit in 8 long years. Yeah, every season since 1988, the Rockets beat the Bulls at home. That's why he started showing his power right from the start. By then, everyone knew that Mike had a divine touch from mid-range. But just in case, he reminded everyone after a great long 2 off the dribble. Now, what if he missed? There was Scottie Pippen, as always ready to turn garbage into gold. As time was passing, the rest of the Bulls players started to warm up. Check out this incredible outlet pass from Dennis Rodman to Ron Harper after a nice basket by Clyde Drexler. Meanwhile, MJ, as always, kept scoring. He loved to go to his right hand just before squaring up. And this time, he drills an off-the-dribble 3 that way, using the screen to gain some extra space. But the Rockets also came out very motivated. Hakeem, although already old, was still an unstoppable player in the low post. And the truth is that it didn't matter how well some of the Bulls' role players were playing, such as Tony Kukoc, if Houston was able to answer them on the next play on the other side of the court. Seeing plays like that, it's understandable why so many people compared Clyde to Michael during the early stages of their careers. What a put-back dunk. At the end of the first quarter, the Rockets led by 6 points on the board. If the Bulls didn't want to add a fourth loss in 43 games this season, they had to step up. But boy, did they step up. Scotty began to set the tone, getting easy baskets in transition. He was truly unstoppable on the fast break. Moments later, he drilled a three from the right wing. This man could really take over when Mike needed it. And of course, Steve Kerr wanted to join the party too. Before coaching the greatest shooter in history, he was one of the greatest shooters in history. But even the best shooters miss. In that case, Jordan was there to clean the glass and score the layup. A player who, even when his shots weren't falling, was capable of making a difference. And even though Hakeem was damaging the Bulls' paint with his footwork, the Rockets were being beaten by the Bulls in the second quarter. They kept pushing forward, knocking down shots from the perimeter like this three-pointer by Pippen off a pass from Jordan. And with a nice move from the low block and his best Hakeem impersonation, Mike scored the decisive bucket that ruined the morale of the Houston players, because the Bulls won the second quarter 32-16 and took the lead on the board. That said, the Rockets players still had plenty of energy left in the tank. Despite Mike coming out strong in the second half, once again becoming a menace on the offensive glass to get second chance points, and despite moments of genius like this, in this creative play that Rodman and Pippen came up with when the shot clock was about to run out, the Rockets players started to score everything. And not only that, they had started defending with an intensity that had not been seen all night. Look at the spectacular block by the Dream on poor Luke Longley. Jordan had to come to his team's rescue on defense, stealing the ball at key moments that allowed the Bulls to get more easy points in transition. Although no points were as important for Chicago as these. Pippen, who was having a good day shooting, attempts another three from the top of the key, but he misses. However, Jordan makes an incredible putback dunk in which he posterizes Hakeem Olajuwon himself. That was a turning point for Chicago, as Jordan not only got the and one, but also changed the momentum of the game. Michael continued to be the most disruptive player on defense, causing havoc that made life difficult for Houston's offense. However, there were times when Clyde got away with it, getting some buckets against the GOAT. Luckily, Michael had Scotty by his side. That night, Scotty was showing incredible confidence from long range, and with that shot, he knocked down his 4-3 of the game. The Bulls just had to slow down the pace and play with the advantage they had gained in the second quarter. They did everything they could to stop Olajuwon, who, along with Drexler, was the reason the Rockets were still alive in the game. But in the moment of truth, the same rule always applied, a rule that at that point was universal. Basketball is a 5-on-5 sport, in which the Bulls almost always win. Michael had done it. After 8 years without a win in Houston, he had finally broken a streak that had haunted him for almost a decade. And although he didn't have one of his signature scoring nights, hitting just 7 of 26 from the field, he proved something even more important. He proved he was more than just a scorer. He proved that he could lead without dominating the ball, that he could trust his teammates, that he could impact the game in every other way on the glass, on defense, and with the kind of intangibles that don't show up on the stat sheet. It wasn't just a win. It was a lesson, a reminder, and the truth is that game also served as a message to the Rockets. Yes, they had won 2 titles. Yes, they were a dynasty in their own right. But with Jordan back, their reign was over, because the Bulls, they took full advantage of their moment. With number 23 back in full force, they were simply too good, too sharp, too dominant on both ends of the court. That year, they set the best regular season record in NBA history at 72-10. Then they steamrolled through Miami, New York, Orlando, and Seattle to claim their 4th title of the Jordan era. And they weren't done. The Bulls wouldn't lose another playoff series until Michael Jordan retired. There are games you win, and there are games that define you. This wasn't Jordan at his statistical best, but it was him at his most complete. His shot might have been off, but his presence was unmistakable. You could feel it in every play, every rebound, every moment that mattered. Because greatness isn't just about scoring, it's also about leading, elevating, and transforming a team into a dynasty. And on that January night in Houston, Prime Jordan didn't just beat the defending champions. He reminded Hakeem, Drexler, and the entire league of a simple truth. The game had changed, and Michael Jordan was the reason why. Now, were those Rockets the best team Michael faced in his career? Or was it the Showtime Lakers? Perhaps the Utah Jazz? Or Bird Celtics? Drop your pick in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. If you live for legendary breakdowns, epic rivalries, and the moments that made basketball history, subscribe to First 5 Hoops and join a community of real basketball fans. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest content. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.